Oh, oh no. Oh, that might be too many. I don't think there's room for all of those. I don't think they're gonna fit. This is fine. I thought this through. This is fine. Okay, last episode we spent like 2 months completely demolishing and hollowing out another fortress, and I never want to go there again. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to because I built a whole elaborate wither skeleton farm and did not put the final piece on the puzzle, which is blowing them up and actually getting their skulls. So we're now going to have to move on from hollowing out another fortress to figuring out some way to safely collect, store, electrocute, and detonate an equivalent number of charged creepers to the amount of wither skeletons that we get out of the farm, which is, you know, by design, a lot. So I'm going to really enjoy this. These are two of my favorite things, long-term drudgery and handling high explosives. What could possibly go wrong? Now, I think the obvious place to put this whole facility is going to be next to the creeper spawner because, you know, we need creepers on demand, and I don't want to just sort of wait for them to spawn naturally like I had to do with the volcano. So I think it shouldn't be too difficult to just split this drop shaft off somewhere in the process and cart them to a safe distance, strike them with lightning. I can probably move that lightning rod, and then probably move them somewhere else again for storage, and then to a third/fourth location, depending on how you're counting, for blasting, which is probably going to be closer to the portal than to here. So it's going to be a multi-step process, and plenty of points of failure along the way is what that means. And I also would like some way to split this tube not only off into the charging chamber, but also off into a record farm, which I guess the only real way I could fork that is if it went this way. But that's another story, and she'll be told another time. For now, we have to worry about handling the volatile bomb monsters. I was hanging a painting earlier, and I cut my index finger on a jagged edge of sort of a metal fastener, and it's a very small cut, but it is right on the underside of my index finger where it normally makes contact with the left mouse button. So clicking is very difficult, and I'm really looking forward to having to transport hostile exploding monsters with a finger that is not necessarily equipped to press the button I need to kill them. So this is going to be real fun. And this is not quite coming out even, so we're just going to have to do this, I guess. Now, my goal here is that I would like to be able to spawn as many creepers as I want at any time that I want and have them all funneled into a single chamber to wait for a thunderstorm to start. Now, there are some problems with that design, namely that it requires the creepers to be persistent so that they won't despawn. And there are really only a couple of ways to do that, and very few ways to do that automatically. Last season in the volcano, I obviously was using name tags, but the downside with that is that I have to have a step where the creepers are lined up in a place where I can name tag them, and that requires them to be both stored in bulk but also stored individually so that I can hit them with a name tag individually, and I don't want to do that. The other option is that mobs will not despawn if they are in a boat or a minecart, which is pretty much the easiest way to do it, but the problem then arises, similar to the name tag problem, that we need to have all of the creepers within a 3x3 cube of the lightning rod, but also we need to be able to separate them back out one at a time from there. And it's hard to get a bunch of minecarts into one spot, and it's even harder to get a bunch of minecarts out of one spot one at a time. So that option, while feasible, is not fun to engineer around. And the easiest method for most mobs so that they won't despawn if they're holding an item, but creepers don't have hands, so they can't do that. So that's out. Fortunately, we have a fourth option. If a mob is captured and redeposited by a snare cage, it will be marked as persistent, because presumably if you're going, 1,000 blocks out to find a bogged or something and you put him back down, it can be assumed you don't want him to despawn. Now, this still presents some engineering problems, but not quite so many as the other approaches. Namely, a snare cage, when it is targeting a mob, will pick the nearest mob within like a 4-block sphere. I don't remember the exact number. And then once it captures it and spits it back out, it will deposit it directly above it. Now, the obvious problem is that when it does that, the mob that is directly above it is almost always the nearest mob. So we need to get the mob out of there very quickly so that it can pick up the next guy in the queue. And I think the obvious way to do that is just to have it spit out onto a bubble column. Bubble column, thank you. I think I'm stuck in here now. Now, the other downside is that these things do need experience for fuel to actually pick mobs up. And even if they're not actively targeting a mob, they are still going to be burning through that fuel. So it is possible that this thing could waste a couple of experience bottles while it's waiting for a creeper to come through. But A, that's a negligible loss. B, I have an infinite supply of experience bottles. And C, I'm only going to be putting fuel in this thing while I'm running it, so it's not like it's going to be requiring a constant source of power. So that's not too bad. Well, this would be great if I'd actually finished the damn thing by now. And once we get the creepers up here, we just need a flat surface for them to stand on. Scaffolding should work for those purposes, because we need somewhere to put a pressure plate to detect that there are actually creepers in the tube. And then things get a little sticky. We need a way to get them out of the tube relatively quickly, because if lightning strikes them again, they're going to keep taking damage, and then that could eventually kill them, which we don't want. And unfortunately, I think our best option is just going to be taking them out one at a time on a rail. Now, fortunately, we don't need to take the minecart any further than like here. We can just spit them out with an activator rail onto like a trap door or something. But it is, if we've got like 60 guys in here, it's going to take a while to get them all out. So I would prefer a better solution, but I don't think one exists that doesn't result in creepers getting out. So we're going to try this. I'm going to do observer facing into here. We're going to put a note block here and a detector rail on the note block. And in theory, when the cart goes over that, it'll just like flap the trapdoor briefly, because they need a solid surface to land on so that they'll actually get out of the cart, but we also need, to drop them. So hopefully that will work, and then just do that, I guess. And then we also need to cover up all of these other possible spots that they could be spat out onto, which should just be a matter of doing that. And that's kind of janky, but let's see what happens. Yeah, that eventually worked. Good enough, I guess. They improved a lot of things with minecarts with these settings. They did not improve corners. These got worse. Now, this is where things get weird, because we need a circuit that will activate the powered rail when lightning strikes if there are creepers in the tube, and then only turn it off once all the creepers are out of the tube without activating it if the tube is empty, so that it doesn't pick up creepers before they're electrocuted. And also it needs to close the tube so that creepers don't get in that aren't charged. So that's fun, and there's like no space in here to do that. So we gotta get real weird. And it ends up looking something like this. And your guess is as good as mine. So we have the pressure plate upstairs on the scaffolding. Creepers come up, go into the pressure plate. That activates this line, which does two things. One, it locks this hopper, which is part of this toggle system. It's kind of a jigsaw puzzle made of zip ties, so bear with me. It locks this hopper. It also turns off this torch. And when this torch is on, it is feeding a 15 strength, that needs to be like that, 15 strength signal into this comparator, which means that nothing can go through it. So when it gets struck by lightning, which is the one thing we don't have, nothing happens. But if there are creepers up there and it does get struck by lightning, it will pulse this dropper, which will put this bow in this hopper, which will go into this comparator, which will turn off that torch, which is powering this line, which is going into another torch here behind this piece of grass, which will then go up and power the rail that the minecart is on, sending it bouncing back and forth until it runs out of creepers, effectively. And when they finally run out, that pressure plate turns off, which will take the bow out of the hopper, put it back into the dropper, and relock the comparator so that it doesn't ever run the minecart when there's nobody up there. And I'm almost done. There is a piston back here that, while this comparator is powered, is also being powered to close the bubble column. And when that retracts, there's water sources here and here, which are very precarious next to all of my complicated wiring, that will refill the bubble column and allow more creepers to go back up. So hopefully, while the charged creepers are being removed from the tube, no more regular creepers are being added to the tube. There's a slim chance one might slip through, but it's a pretty low chance, and I think if that happens, I'm fine cleaning it up manually. So, you got all that? Okay. I don't. This is not my shulker box, and I don't know why it's here. Whatever. Now here's the bad news. This is sort of awkward. So the creepers are here, as we've established, and in order to charge them, the lightning rod needs to be effectively within a 7x7 cube centered on the creepers. More accurately, the creepers need to be within a 7x7 cube centered on the lightning rod, but it's the same thing, really. And the problem is that a 7x7 cube stops right here at the side of the building where the roof is. And the lightning rod needs to not have a roof over it to actually be struck by lightning. And we can't move the tube because this is the size that this mechanism needs to be. And we can't really make it any smaller without having to redesign the entire thing, which I don't want to do. So we kind of have to redo this whole building. Not all of it. I need to bring in part of it this way so that I can run a lightning rod closer to the creepers. I don't think that's too difficult. It's just that I do have to do it. So I guess we're just gonna do it. Really getting mileage out of that time-lapse music today. I don't know what's going on over here. Okay, I think that everything that needs to be in this building is now in this building, and once we have a way to get the creepers in and out, we will be done and can move on to the other place that we need to get creepers into and out of. This is fun. I understand this to be common in other parts of the world, but there is a power line near my house that has had someone's sneakers tied to it for probably at least a decade now. And I've replicated that here because just these ordinary power lines I thought were boring. Why are there power lines in an long-lost ancient Carthaginian ruin? Who can say? But they're here, and we do need them, so we're going to move past it. So let's take a look at what we've got here. This is the air quotes real lightning rod. All of these other ones have got some sort of block on top of them. These have got string, a couple of these have got string, these have got signs, which means that I believe lightning can only strike this one. I ran a couple of tests, and even string is enough to keep it from striking it, unless you're using a trident, in which case any one of these will work. But this one specifically is the only one that, in theory, will actually activate the mechanism. So a couple of design considerations have come up. I was originally planning to have the lightning rod directly put power into a block and then send that into the switch here. I opted not to do that just because of where the lightning rod needs to be relative to the holding pen. So instead we are using a skulk sensor on signal strength 14, which detects entities being placed, I believe, Enderman teleporting or lightning striking, which I think is the only thing that's likely to happen in this area. And even if it does, we have all sorts of fail-safes to keep it from actually doing anything if there are no creepers in the tube. So the main reason that we can't have the lightning rod close enough to the building to physically provide redstone power is because of the minecart. And if there was some better way to get these guys out of the tube, I could probably do something different. But if a minecart takes any lightning damage, it evaporates. And I don't want that to happen because this is kind of important. So this lightning rod is within the 7x7 cube, or again, other way around. The creepers are within the 7x7 cube of the lightning rod. The minecart is just outside of it. So it should not be taking lightning damage, but the creepers should. I have switched the trapdoor mechanism to just a water stream, and that's going to push them down this tube, and we're going to have another small aqueduct coming out of here. I again don't know what this is, and that's going to go somewhere this way and deposit them in some sort of jail. I don't know. In the meantime, we're just, I think I'm just going to put a campfire down here, actually, and kill them if they happen to get through. Because I do need to test that this actually works, but I also don't want charged creepers in here while I'm still building it. But that does mean we have to move on to the kind of scary part. We need to actually get them out of this tube, and instead of dropping them down here, we want to send them this way. And I'm not even sure that this is going to work. They may just be able to stop in these gaps. I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But let's see. So it is just at this, great, this level. So main thing we're going to need is a dispenser, which I think I'm going to put here. We're going to have to find some better way of covering this up because this is going to look bad for a couple of minutes. And I also just lost that mud brick. That's fine, probably. We're going to put a sign here. Having said all of that, I don't know how... The water's not going to flow there, is it? But that should work, I think. All right, next up, we need a way to keep them from getting out of the tube while they're falling. I'm just going to put a trapdoor here. I don't think that they'd be able to fit through the tube like this as it is, because the odds of, this is a pretty exact fit, the odds of them being able to get in there with significant downward velocity is pretty low, but I think we're just going to toggle that trapdoor as needed. And we need some sort of mechanism to close this, and this is really going to look bad. Now, in theory, this shouldn't work, but there's quasi-connectivity involved, so I think I could just do this. Well, I should have seen that coming. Okay, minor travesty in progress, but this should work. Alright, that's closed. That is flowing that way. This trapdoor is open. They should be able to fit through there. This is the only part I'm iffy on, because they could still get stuck in here. And I guess I need some way to keep... Let's see if this is a concern. Oh yeah, that's got to go. There's probably some way to hide that I'll figure out later. For now, let's just... Oh, we got to put that back. Let's just see if this works. Okay, so all I got to do is hit this lever. Double check that I'm not seriously screwing anything up. Okay, here we go. Just gotta spawn. Oh, they're already here. Great. Okay, yep, that guy got out. Yeah, that guy's getting stuck on the trapdoor, though. I might switch that for a fence gate. But this guy's going. And yeah, that's the other thing I was worried about. Which, again, this should resolve it, but I think I need... Yeah, we don't want that happening. They're not items. They will not keep going. Oh, they're getting stuck there, too. I didn't think about that. Well, in theory, one of them should go in eventually, right? No? I should probably not be spawning thousands of them. Well, what am I supposed to do with these? Okay, I'm going to switch it to a fence gate, just to be safe. Okay, and I don't particularly want to mess with the water stream right now. I know how to fix it, but more than one creeper will also fix it, so we're just going to try this again. Alright, going through. That was a little easier that time. I don't like that they seem to be able to see me. And yeah, that is... It could be better, but it is working. And he's still stuck, which is fine. That's expected. I could probably put a cat or something out here, and they'd try and run away from the cat. And he's in there, and I don't think he can fit out. So... Now for the scary part. Okay, Kirven, whatever you do, don't go any further up this scaffolding. 1, 2. Picks him up. And puts him down. And he's in the tube. And the minecart is primed to go when lightning strikes. It's just that it's... broad daylight and there's not a cloud in the sky, so how about a couple more? Now, this guy, these two have gone all the way up. This guy seems to still be stuck in the scaffolding, which is odd, but I don't think is going to be a problem. And now we just need to simulate a lightning strike. The mechanism by which minecarts pick up creatures seems arbitrary at best, because I have seen them pick up mobs from further away, no problem. But I'm guessing I just need to be more precise here. So what's the best way to do that when they need to be standing on scaffolding? That's the question. Just to see if we can. That worked. And he's on the campfire? Yes, okay. So that part is sound. I guess if I had like a piston or something, I could push them, but I don't think there's anywhere good to put a piston here. If it wasn't so hung up on being able to see them through the window, I could very easily just push them into the minecart, but I don't want to do that, so... Need a closer examination of minecart mechanics, I guess. However, the system did turn off correctly after I punched them all. Oh dear. Okay, I need to make that tube a little taller, clearly. That's scary. Okay, all things considered, pretty straightforward fix. A minecart apparently can't pick up a mob if it's in a climbable block, and that includes scaffolding, but not water for some reason. So remove the scaffolding. They're just free floating in the water now. Swap the pressure plate for a tripwire hook. Had to move some of the redstone around a little bit, but it's pretty much fine because they're in water. I just have the water flowing towards the minecart, so they're always being pushed within range, which I think solves most of our problems, except it now creates the problem that you can't see them from the window from the ground, which was the whole point of many of the restrictions I placed on this, but it's fine. It works, and now we just have to move them into storage, which we're going to rush through because I don't want this to be another 40-minute affair. But first, we got to figure out what's happening over here.
Well, good luck. There's not really too many places to hide, actually.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
You'll get him. Okay.
2. I got 2.
He goes up quite fast, doesn't he?
Yes. Well, he was going for me.
Ah, yeah. Can you bring him down?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
I got new knowledge unlocked.
For what?
A spear.
Oh. See, that wasn't so hard.
We did it. I took no damage.
Yeah, I think you wisely put on a chest plate. Here, toss me your shoes. Enjoy.
Oh wait, they're every color. Oh.
This is the real reason I wanted that farm.
Ah.
Congratulations, you got a nether star on your shoes. Now, so here's the question.
Yes.
You've got yourself a double layer bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously. That part goes up there. Where does this part go?
This is somewhere else.
Yeah. Because right now,
you can, see here, we've got
it does just go to this crevice.
This, yeah.
Yeah, which
is
does this connect to anything?
Look at that. Look at that.
Okay. I guess this does go.
Where does it go?
Which is a dark, unexplored cave.
All right.
Which dead ends there.
Look at that.
Well, maybe it goes somewhere on the other side.
Look at that. And then we got
some gravel. Yeah. Okay, a lot of gravel. And okay.
You know, there could be anything down here.
There could be.
Yep.
There isn't, but there could be. Okay, yeah.
Look at this.
So you've connected one dead-end cave to what I suspect will be...
Nope, not a dead end.
Oh, wow. Goes straight through.
That. It just goes straight through. Now, if you get on here, that's a dead end.
Yeah, this is absolutely nothing, in fact.
Yeah, it's nothing at all. Yeah.
Yeah. Feel free while you're here to, empty any portion of your inventory.
What are you talking about?
This is a crime.
It doesn't get better.
No.
It gets worse. Okay, those have to go somewhere.
Yeah. It'll do. And now we get to see if this even works, and if not, it's gonna explode. So we turn on the funnel, we start the creepers spawning, and they should make their way into the tube, They go down the tube into the aqueduct. They don't seem to be able or trying to get out. Power up the catalyst. I need a better way in here. And that should be picking them up and putting them back in the tube. They're going up. They get stopped on the tripwire. Simulate a lightning strike. Cart picks them up, and now instead of dying, they go into the new aqueduct, which is the part I haven't tested. They could technically squeeze through those chains, but I don't think they know how to, so this should be fine. And they get to the end and are dropped down into this cell. Okay, so that actually worked perfectly, except, of course, for the undeniable fact that I have just loaded a number of non-charged creepers into a cell and have not actually built the mechanism to remove them, which is fine. And now we just have to do the same thing for the wither skeletons. The only problem with that is that our charged creepers are here, our portal is here, the one in the nether actually technically comes out somewhere over there, and it's just dumb luck that this happened to link up. And the closest that I can actually get the wither skeletons out is like here, which is a ways away, but not an insurmountable task. The good news is that the intention the entire time was to have a midpoint where they'd converge and detonate, which is looking like it is going to be kind of far away from both, but I think that's going to be probably somewhere around here. This portal, the main actual portal, is going to be moved anyway, so I think that somewhere around here is fine. It's just that I have, nothing past this point except for that, and that I don't really count that. And there's this pillager outpost, but it's fine. I guess we're starting on the brown zone. So what do we actually have to do? Step 1, we need to build the portal. Step 2, we need to reroute the minecarts over to the portal. And step 3, because the wither skeletons are getting kind of far away from us at this point, we're going to snare cage them directly out of the minecart so they don't really have an opportunity to spawn. And then we just put them directly back in the portal. Step 4, which I probably should have done before I started putting wither skeletons through the portal, is they need a place to actually go. So we're going to have a wolf to scare them out of the portal. It worked at Palms Ahoy, and it'll work here. And then just a box. I'm not actually going to connect this up to the ground yet because I don't know what this waterfront area is going to look like or what level it's actually going to be at. And I don't want to have to redo a building full of wither skeletons. So we're just going to extend it down later. Step 5, we need somewhere to actually blow them up. That's going to go here. We're going to use 2 more bubble columns to transport them into roughly close range. Step 6, we need some way to actually get the wither skeletons over there. Step 7, we need some way to actually get the creepers over there. And it may have thunderstormed in between steps, and because the system is now fully automated, there's nothing I could do to stop that cell from filling up with 36 charged creepers, but it's fine. And step 8, we need a button that brings them over. And I think that's it. All right, it's happening. Everyone stay calm. I was not prepared for this. We're gonna take it from the top, and I guess we're gonna see if it works. This is actually the one thing I haven't tested is the stopgap mechanism, and I was kind of afraid that might happen. Yeah. The good news is that's fixable. Here we go. All right. And that is one Wither Skull, and it probably took the same amount of time as just standing in the farm and smacking them myself, but it's the principle of the thing that counts, and oh man! I mean, you know, a little spackle, redo the drywall, that'll buff right out. Good as new by Thursday. Leave me be! Leave me be! The actuator in Goliath has disappeared. And I don't know why. Hey, look, everybody, I found it. It was right there the whole time. Oh. What? What? Okay.